Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Med Device Engineer X. Today, we're going to have our second part of our series of servicing cardiovascular equipment. And as we've touched on the previous video, it was about cardiovascular anatomy. But now we're going to go over cardiovascular physiology. I know I've touched on the brief points on the previous video, but we're just going to go into more detail on it in this episode. So let's go to the first part of our physiology, which is the functions of the cardiovascular system. As we've discussed in the previous video, there were three functions of cardiovascular system, which is transportation, protection, and regulation. Let's go into more detail with transportation. So we've discussed on the previous video, it was transporting oxygen and carbon dioxide during gaseous exchange. And just picture this, it's just a network of blood vessels delivering essential nutrients and oxygens to nearly every corner of our bodies. And blood is the lifeline of our system. It ensures the removal of waste and carbon dioxide, keeping our internal environment pristine. But that's not all. Hormones also are included in the ride. They're included in the liquid plasma, which travels throughout our body to allow certain processes to happen when we get injured. And we'll go over that on the next couple of slides. Next is protection. How does cardiovascular system protect our bodies? Well, the blood also contains white blood cells, which are the unsung heroes in our bloodstream. They kind of act as kind of a cleanup crew and target cellular debris and combat any pathogens attempting to breach our immune system. But that's not all. Platelets and red blood cells also join the forces to create scabs, the formation of scabs, which is the sealing of wounds and stand against invaders. Additionally, the blood carries antibodies. There are customized defense system providing immunity against pathogens. Lastly, let's go over regulation. How does cardiovascular system regulate our bodies? As we've mentioned before, we have two processes, which is vasodilation and vasoconstriction, but that's not all. It also controls the pH of the blood. And also balances the osmotic concentration of our cells. Next, we have the circulatory pump. The heart functions as a four-chambered pump with the left and right sides. So the left atrium, left ventricle, and right ventricle. These is separated by a muscular septum in between. And that's how it ensures a clear division between the two sides of the heart and allows a good facilitation of efficient circulation of blood around the body. So let's start with the blood circulation from the right side. So the right side of the heart receives the oxygenated blood from the body, from systemic veins. So from this side, it comes from the body, receiving deoxygenated blood. Because why? Because the oxygen has been used up by the body already. And this then pumps the blood to the lungs for oxygenation. So deoxygenated blood, so blood without oxygen, goes to the lungs, which then picks up oxygen through gaseous exchange, and then that is returned back to the left side of the heart, which then pumps it throughout the rest of the body. Each heartbeat allows simultaneous contraction of both sides of the heart. It's kind of like an orchestra. It creates an orchestrated rhythm that contributes to the efficiency of the heartbeat. we'll go to the regulation of blood pressure. How does the cardiovascular system regulate our blood pressure? Various elements in the cardiovascular system plays a crucial role in controlling blood pressure. There are hormones and autonomic nerve signals from the brain that influences both the rate and the strength of heart contractions. When there's an increase in contractile force and heart rate, this results in elevated blood pressure. Now, when this happens, when ventricular pressure increases, the diameter of the arteries also increases. So the diameter of the arteries is another factor influencing blood pressure. So vasoconstriction, a process driven by the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight nerve system, it reduces the arterial diameter during vasoconstriction, which leads to increased blood pressure and decrease blood flow in the constricted region. And on the opposite hand, vasodilation, it dilates. This is triggered by a relaxation of smooth muscles in the arterial wall. Now let's discuss the blood volume impact, which is the ventricular volume right here. So the volume of the blood in the body is a significant determinant of blood pressure. So with a high blood volume, increases pressure by enhancing the amount of blood pumped with each heartbeat. Additionally, conditions like clotting disorders results in a more thicker, viscous blood, which also contributed to elevated blood pressure. Lastly, we'll discuss about hemostasis, which is normally overlooked, however, is still very important part of a cardiovascular physiology. So platelets in the blood, they remain inactive, they remain dormant until they're cold. As you can see from that picture, when we're at the only time they're cold is when an injury happens. As you can see, red blood cells gushing out due to an injury, which causes the blood vessels to constrict. This is the first step. This decreases blood flow. Well, it minimizes it, lessening the amount of blood going out. Next is the platelet activation. So this is the start of hemostasis. As we've discussed, they're normally inactive until we have damaged tissues or wounds in our body. So the first thing that happens is once they reach the damaged area, they actually undergo a transformation. They kind of adopt a spiny bowl shape, as you can see from here. And they become adhesive, they become sticky, which enables them to stick to the damaged tissues, initiating a kind of cascade of events necessary for hemostasis. Next is the chemical symphony, so the chemical reaction. This stage is set when the platelets release clotting factors. It paves the way for the introduction of fibrin, which is this part here. This protein acts as a structural foundation for the blood clot, and it ensures a kind of strong and effective response to injury, the fibrin. So this kind of forms a temporary seal in the blood, and the plug acts as a protective barrier, maintaining the integrity of the vessel until its cells can initiate the repair process. So we've discussed in this episode four physiological functions related to the cardiovascular system, which is hemostasis, the regulation of blood pressure, the circulatory pump, and of course the functions of the cardiovascular system. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.